I was in LA last week, and I was saying, because I'm not an LA hater. People have asked me, why don't you move to LA? Over the years, I've just never gone. And I was there last week, and I had this realization and it's nothing against the city or the industry, but just me personally, I showed up there. I was there for 4 or 5 days, and I was like, oh, when I am here, I want to be dead. I want to be dead when I'm in this city. Yeah. Something about this city makes me want to be dead.
What is it? Like, I don't know. What is it?
Because it's a fine place full of nice people and warm weather, and all my friends are happy there. And I'm not trying to come down on the city because that's a little cliche, and it's not what I'm going for. It's just on a personal level, within 36 hours of arriving in Los Angeles, California, I will find myself praying for death.
Yeah.
Welcome back to the show. In studio joining us right now is Chris Gethard. He has a new book out called Lose Well. Chris, when did this come out? I don't have any information in front of me. Okay.
It came out Tuesday.
Is this your second book?
Third book. I never slow down.
Why? How do you still have something to write about? What are we writing about in this one now?
This one it's a bunch of funny stories and stuff, but it all kind of ties into the idea that the older I get, the more I think failure is actually a really good thing.
We were just talking about this.
It served me really well in my life.
Tell me how, and when did you come to this conclusion?
A lot of it happened in 2010, because as you guys know, as comedians, and I try to write this in a broad way where it will not just appeal to comedians or artists, but you spend so much time thinking about your success relative to other people's, and I was coming up in a scene at UCB where everyone was getting super successful. And I was not. And I had all this feelings of like, why is it not happening for me? All this stress. And then I finally got a sitcom, and then the sitcom bombed, and I didn't care. And I was like, why don't I care? And then I was like, oh, I don't like sitcoms. Why did I view it as success to be on one that was very much driven by pettiness and ego? This feeling that I wanted things that other people had. Mm-hmm. Who cares? And that's when I went to public access TV.
Yep.
And kind of built my career, and it became
with the Chris Gethard show.
Yeah, and it became this thing people were like really passionate about and knew me for. And I think by anyone's standard definition of success, a public access show is not successful compared to a sitcom lead. It was the lead. But for me, it felt very much like success.
And I completely relate to that, because you get these opportunities and you go yes, and you just say yes because it's a thing. That's what people get when I see them talk about it on Twitter and everyone makes a big deal, and that's when you've made it. But then I'm like, I don't want to do that every day with my life. Yeah. Do I really want that?
We don't ask that enough.
We don't ask that enough. And so you weren't bummed out when your show was canceled? I mean, it felt
stung.
It stung, yes.
It was humiliating to get really bad reviews on my acting ability. But I was sitting there and I was like, yeah, but I also don't care. And I'm someone who's so prone to depression and stuff that I thought it was going to kill me. And I was like, oh, hey, I largely don't care. And I just realized it's all ego. Get the ego out of the way.
Yeah, that is a scary thing, is that you just said you thought it would kill you, because when you put yourself out there and you set yourself up to have a disappointment like that, you're like, oh, what if this kills me?
Right. Why do I keep doing this to myself?
Yeah.
What is it that I actually love about it? Let me go focus on that. That's what I've learned. It's like I keep putting myself in these situations because I have to. And if I have to, I better just get out there and do it and own it. And if it doesn't work out, I got to be okay with that.
Yeah. That's the tough part. I did Dancing with the Stars, and I was so scared that.
Now, how'd you like it? I don't think I've seen you since you did it.
I loved it.
That's awesome.
I wish I was still on. I loved it more than I thought I would. It was one of the greatest experiences of my life. Wow. I'm dying to get back on. I'm gonna pitch to them that they do a loser season with everyone who's been eliminated first.
That's a great idea.
Because ties right into what I'm talking about.
I loved it, and I didn't expect to love it, and I did it just because I was like, oh, you get asked to do it. I kind of wanted a break from my life, to be honest, because when you do Dancing with the Stars, you can't do anything else. So you're just like, I couldn't do stand-up at night. I honestly took it as a vacation, and I say that, and people think I'm crazy, but
Are you
really
a dancer?
No, I've never
really?
danced in my life, ever.
Can I
Not
tell
once.
you, I am quietly a very good dancer.
You are?
Yeah.
Literally, if they ever ask you to do it. It's the greatest thing I've ever done. It was so fun. I think that we do have to often ask ourselves that, because we just get it in our head what success is. I think we all relate to that, of like,
well,
you get something and you go, I don't even like this.
Yeah.
comparing yourself. How do we stop doing it, Chris? Have you stopped comparing yourself?
By and large,
stop?
yeah.
How?
By doing stuff that very few people care about, but the ones who do care about it are very passionate about it. You know, I don't have the most fans, but I think I have some of the best fans.
Yes.
And I've just constantly doubled down on doing stuff that I think is like a little smaller and a little bit more reflective of who I am. And a lot of times I found that when you get to platforms that are very big, that represent a big success, it also means that your stuff gets taken away from you and taken away from your voice. And I think I've just been very, very willing to get up and walk away from the table in those situations. And that helps me not compare myself, you know?
What do you do to get out of it? Have you had the moments like that?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And you just don't have them anymore?
Well, no, not
Do you find
not
yourself
as much.
ever going down that spiral of seeing someone kill or hearing that someone killed or hearing someone get something that you would have wanted?
There's certainly times, I will say this, like we all do, there are certainly times where, how do you say it delicately? I mean, you don't. There's certainly times where you see people where you're like, that person's not that good.
Yes.
And that's a different thing to me, because you're like, this is they're hoodwinking the audience. It's snake oil, and that's bad for all of us. If they go and see some show where it's like, oh, they went in on the hype and the person's not that good, that means they don't buy tickets for comedy.
Yeah.
I don't like that.
Yeah, that is scary.
The dangerous part is when it's someone who I don't have anything against, or it's even a friend of mine. That's when it gets really insidious, you know, when it's like, oh, this is a person I'll sit down, ask them how they're doing, mean it, care about their answers. I know that when they ask me, they mean it too. And then when they go and do well, I'm going to be like, screw them. You know what I mean? Like, that's when it becomes really insidious. And I have managed to avoid that. And I think a lot of it is just because I can say so honestly that most of the situations in my life that were traditional success did nothing but add stress or unhappiness. And there's been a lot of situations where I've landed in circumstances that very much by other people's definitions were failure, and they made me happy. So I've just kind of learned to say, who cares? I think like you said, I think for you have to deal with a patriarchy-driven version of it. But for me, I think even in a broad sense, for a lot of us, it's sort of like, I think culture and society just trains you to want to like feel like you have to stay in your lane, you know, kind of stay in your fucking cubicle. Am I allowed to curse? Sorry about that.
Yes, of course.
But it is like, stay in your fucking cubicle. I always felt like somewhere people were like, you know, you're meant to be seen and not heard. Like, I don't come from a family of artists or a neighborhood of artists. I constantly felt like it was like, oh, you think you're better than us, like wanting to go do that. Like, that was always the vibe. And I just don't buy it. And I feel like I've done a lot of things that are sort of like smaller for very few people, and they make me immensely happy. And then I've been in big movies or performed in front of thousands of people where I'm like, that was totally fine, who cares? Or it just makes me a little glum. So I think a lot of how I managed to avoid worrying about other people's stuff is remembering that it has literally no effect on mine. It just doesn't. You know?
It doesn't. And when I see other people get jealous of other people, I get mad at them. But it's really me getting mad at myself about being jealous. Like, I've never gotten anything from being jealous.
Not one time.
I don't think it's made me work harder. I don't think it's made me work better. It has only made me. It's like what I was talking about last week. I lost my purse, and I was just kind of like, oh, well, that sucks. I'll either find it or I won't, but there's nothing I can do right now. As opposed to going, you idiot, why'd you lose your purse? Like, you're such a stupid bitch. Like, which is what I would usually do, which is never helped anyone find anything, is calling themselves a stupid bitch. But that's what I feel like I do when I get jealous of people. I got it. Social media too. I mean, do you avoid that now?
It's a nightmare. It's a complete nightmare.
It's a nightmare.
It went from a thing that connects us all, that was really beautiful and exciting, to a thing that only brings out the most inhuman sides of people.
Yeah.
Sad.
I think we've obviously been saying this for years now about how we all got to get off it, and it makes us compare ourselves.
Yeah.
But it has reached a point where it makes me depressed.
Oh, for sure.
Like,
yeah, you can see a post where you're like, oh, that just ruined my day, and I don't even care. Like, the world is the exact same whether I see this post or not, but because I like looked at it and like ate those feelings, now I'm just gonna be thinking about that. Yeah, I hate it.
Well, I posted that video of my dad and mom singing last night, and Mark Norman said his comment was like, I look at your parents and wish I had that relationship with mine, and I was like, you only see what I post.
That's the thing.
You don't see the bad.
I love when people do those posts where they're like, it's only fair because I post the good things. Here's something I failed at. Somebody did that the other day, and I was like, I love that.
And it's just like a girl where she has a tear streaming down her face, but she looks hot. She's like, there are bad nights too. Yeah. You look pretty in this. But I wrote that, and then my dad wrote underneath it. He wrote like, "Wow," like he was like, "Man," I was like, "It's true." I don't.
That's
like,
so funny.
I don't ever post a video of me being like, "Fuck yeah, mom," and slamming a door, but that happens, you know. Right. And that's I do appreciate you so much, Chris Gethard, because you are just you're just so honest. And
I try to be, although I do feel bad that I came in here and this instantly got like way too philosophical and depressing. That's a little too on brand for me.
That's your brand,
too on brand for me.
No. Lose Well
over
is
talky
the book.
and depressing. That's my brand.
Is this like a self-help book? Is this your version of self-help? It is my version of it.
Yeah, Harper one of the editors saw my HBO special, which, as you know, focused on a lot of very dark stuff with my mental health.
Yes.
And they asked me to write a book version of it. And I said, I don't want to be the depression guy forever. And they said, well, we really want to work with you. And I found it an interesting challenge to be contracted to write a book by a self-help company. And I'd like to think that it's not snake oil or bullshit. It's basically just stuff where I'm like, I've been doing this for 18 years, and here's a bunch of stuff I learned that worked for me. Good luck to you. And it's a weirdly pessimistic self-help book, which I'm kind of proud of. Like over and over again, I'm like, it's probably not going to work. Don't convince yourself it is. 99% chance that you don't get where you're trying to go. But I just don't think that that's a bad thing. So I felt comfortable writing it. I don't think anybody's going to be convinced by me going, here's the way to get to your dreams. But I think they'll be convinced by me going, hey, I'm a guy with weird instincts who has a giant forehead, who often thinks that he looks like a fucking monster man, who has somehow still managed to work for 18 years and survive at the thing he wanted to do. Like, even though I'm admittedly never the funniest comedian in the room, it's like, well, how did I do that? That's the stuff that might actually help regular people.
That's what I want to read. That's what I would have been eager to consume. If you or anyone in your life feels that way, where they're like, you know you have a talent, but you might not have the confidence, or you might think, how am I going to make it? This is the book to get that person, or to get yourself. Lose Well is Chris Gethard's book, and he is someone that you figured out a way to You have a strong, your brand is strong.
Thank you. My brand game is on point.
Do you remember? I think we all started out in this business trying to be someone else. Who were you trying to be before you became Chris Gethard?
Well, I was at UCB in 2000, and whatever people think of it today, some people have issues with the place. I was there when no one had ever heard of it and exploded, and it was this like punk rock thing, and so I was seeing like very, very good friends of mine wind up on SNL, wind up on sitcoms, and I was like, I want that. Meanwhile, I was doing all these shows in New York that like I was doing shows where comedians were like, if you weren't funny enough, you'd get shot with a paintball gun on stage, or a show where like a bunch of us boxed each other, or a show
They're
where
still doing some of these.
From time to time, and it's like, a show where I rented a bus and took people around New Jersey and told them stories from my life and the locations with it. And everybody was like, oh, you do all the weird stuff. And I would just kind of like constantly apologize for that. Apologize, and be like, no, that's not all I do. Because in my mind, I'm like, I'm going to go get an SNL or a sitcom job just like everybody else from UCB. And hit a certain point where I write about it in the book. A good friend of mine sat me down and was like, when are you going to realize that you're the one who does all the weird stuff, and you're the best one at it, and just own that? Like, why do you want to go get a job just like the jobs everyone else are getting? Go do the paintball thing. And, I spent 4 years on public access with a TV show that was aimed at trying to do that. And it wasn't always easy to be on public access, but then it eventually had 47 episodes on cable. Like, that's nothing to sneeze at. And so much of it was just by saying, like, yeah, I'm not destined for those other things. Let other people have those things.
I do that a lot with like, I remember the first time this like struck me was either watching a Chappelle special or a Bill Burr special that I just really was like, wow, that was tight. And there was something about it that made me think, I don't know that I'll ever get to that level of just brilliance. And kind of being like, you know what though? They probably don't have as good of friends as I do. Like, I'm really good at picking people as friends. So I'm kind of like the Chappelle of like friendship. Like my point is finding what you are good at. Like, you're good at the weird stuff.
Yeah. And the sad stuff.
You're the best at it. And like finding that, yeah, but when you do comedy, you just look at like the comedy greats and you're like, well, if I don't write the best one-liners, you look at Mitch, if you compare yourself to Mitch Hedberg or Dave Chappelle or.
It's never going to end well.
It's never going to end well, but what are you the best at? And I'm not saying that like having friends is like is a comedic achievement, but I was like, what am I really good at? What if I could say that I'm like the best at? And I'm like, oh, I think picking people to be friends. Like I just have the greatest friends. And so for a while I was like, whenever I get down, I'd be like, well, just remember that your talent is that. And then there's other things that I'm good at too that I've discovered along the way. But I think that might be kind of a trick if you're listening and you're like, you compare yourself and you go, I'll never look like that. I'll never be that. Well, it could be like a weird thing, but you're better at something than they are.
Making videos. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, making videos. Making shitty mermaid videos. Carmen Lynch. No, Carmen Lynch. I mean, like, you're definitely someone I look at that I'm like, well, I could never I could never be, there's that
but you
funny.
Can, and you will be a mermaid, too.
I will. I will never, I'll never have a 10-year-old stepson type person to teach me. But Carmen, do you relate to this? Like, how do you deal with
yeah, it's weird sometimes because
Carmen Lynch.
I have to check in with myself and be like, what do you really want? And I love traveling more than anything. Like, I want to see the world. But I also love stand-up comedy. So if I get an email that says, do you want to do a packet for such and such show? It feels very strange to be like, I don't.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, and it's weird to say that to like your agent or something. And there's some packets that I will do, but some of them I'm like, no, because if I do this show, then I can't go to, wherever at the last minute.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right. But whereas if someone said to you, like, do you want to come do a show in Kazakhstan and we can only pay you $800?
Totally. Like, I went to Pakistan last year. I'm going to Greenland next month. Like,
You're doing shows in Greenland?
Yeah, and it doesn't even pay that much, but I'm like, I want to see what that's like.
How do you even find those gigs?
Well, that one's for the troops. That's a military thing.
Great.
But, it's like if I'm on a show that I don't really want to write for, but it's, I should write for a show because that's what you do in this career.
And then you get to tell people you're writing for that show. Yes. And then you get to have it as part of your Twitter bio.
Right.
Here's another thing I'll say on this whole topic. And this is not a reference to any names that have come up thus far, but I think we can all agree that kind of being in the trenches and being around people, not always, but often enough, some of the most successful people I've seen who from the outside, people are like, those are the superstars. From my perspective, seem to be intensely lonely.
Yeah.
Intensely lonely and not thrilled with how they live.
Yeah.
No, that's like exactly what I said this a few weeks ago, but I believe like sometimes if you are jealous of someone, you go, would I trade lives with them though?
No
and
way.
I almost never would. Like
that's a really
so
good
many people
question.
I'm like, I wouldn't want to walk around like that with that voice and hair or whatever. I don't know.
Everyone's stopping you.
Yes, because, and I think, Tom, you're more in this part of your career than any of us because we've been around longer, but like you're getting opportunities now placed in front of you that it's like auditions for shows or writing packets or and they come across you and you go, oh my God, like I can't not throw my hat in the ring for this. This is like you were just saying. And you gotta, I am so glad I didn't get some of the jobs that I went out for. I am so glad because, and my therapist taught me this a million times, when you say no to something, you're saying yes to everything else.
Yeah.
That means everything.
Yeah.
So when you saying no can be very powerful. I didn't say no a lot, but I wish I would have, because if I would have gotten any of those jobs, I wouldn't have this.
Yeah.
And who's to say if I would have said no to this, I could be somewhere even better. But I don't.
Shit, that's a good point.
I gotta go.
We gotta say no to everything.
But it really is. It's hard to turn down things, especially when you're a comic and you just have to say yes to everything up front. But man, there were some things that I cried over not getting. And I look back and I'm like, that would have been miserable. And all I really wanted was the line in my Twitter bio.
That's it.
Or the announcement.
For sure. When I first moved here, there was writing jobs where I was like devastated that I didn't get. And then I watched the show after. I was like, I don't even like this.
Yes.
I don't even like this show. Why would I want to do this?
You would not be able to do stand-up at night.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Or you would, and you would be sleepless like you were in college working 2 gigs. I mean, it's just... it's some of the things you look back on that you didn't get. It's usually a good thing.
I was a guest writer at SNL in 2007 for 2
What?
weeks. For 2 weeks, they brought me in the night, and that's
dream job.
Dream job. And I realized I was so devastated to not get hired afterwards. I got a sketch to dress rehearsal. I was like, oh, I'm on this inside track. Didn't get hired. Devastated. But I look back at who I was in 2007, and I look at what that job demands of people, and I realize I would be dead. I would have started drinking again. I would have become addicted to drugs. I know myself. I know where I was at. I know that pace. I know I would not have been able to handle that at the age of 26, 27. I would be dead. If I wasn't dead, I would be a vastly different person.
I agree with you.
It would have chewed me up and spat me out. Thank God I didn't get it. And it was the dream job at the time. And I cried and tried. I submitted, I think, for 3 or 4 years after that. Being like, how did I drop the ball? How did I? And it was like this great white whale that was eating me up. I failed at this. It's like, no, if I had gotten this, I would have become like a cokehead. I know I would have. I know I would have.
I agree with you. If I would have gotten some of the things that were big opportunities early on, I wouldn't have been able to get sober, and I'd probably be dead.
Yeah.
I'd probably be, and not saying that everyone needs to find sobriety and that's what the solution is, but for me, for our case, for my mental stability, like I needed to not be successful until I was ready for it, and thank God I wasn't.
Oh yeah.
Because it would have been, well, you see it happen all the time. People get too successful, get these opportunities too young and squander them.
I mean, in 2012, it was 5 years later, and I tried Adderall once, and it led to a real bad summer. You know, like
really?
2007, I would have been even less equipped. Oh yeah, I lost
Adderall. Dangerous.
Yeah, I started eating like 60 milligrams a day.
Whoa.
I went nuts. I lost a ton of weight.
Oh yeah, that's
stayed up all night. It was crazy.
Yeah, you might lose weight on Adderall, but the thing that has kept me from doing it is that it ages you.
Yeah,
because your eyes are like, ugh, and so you get crow's feet faster.
Yeah.
So ladies,
a real gross one.
Don't what?
Good to know.
I had crazy side effects.
What?
I pooped blood.
What?
It made me poop a lot of blood.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
And you were just like, well, that's.
Yeah, I didn't go to a doctor
Wait,
for
is
a
that bad?
frightfully long time. What's that?
Is that bad? Should I be concerned?
Yeah. No, I was just staying up all night and acting like a crazy person, so I just went with it.
Yeah. At that point, pooping blood, you're just like, whatever.
Yeah, it was through there were bigger fish
you're
to
like,
fry.
maybe I ate a bunch of beets a couple days ago. You start like rationalizing.